climbs off all by itself. It does it itself. Okay?
Yeah, you're right there with me though.
Every time I open the hangar door to go flying, I realize that I'm one of the lucky guys doing something that I dreamt of as a kid.
I got drafted. I got called back to Brooklyn, New York. At that time, I was pushing about 17 and a half. When I got into the Army, they give you an IQ test. And mine was I don't know how this sounds, but mine was high. So they said, where do you want to go? I said, well, no, I want to be a pilot. So, and the truth is, I didn't know anything about it any more than whatever. So when I went in there, they gave me an eye test, and it said you can't be a pilot because you're colorblind. So, but he says, don't worry, we're going to put you up in the air anyway. They're going to make you an armor gunner. Little did I know that they were losing crews, the hundreds and thousands, you know, what was going on. Germans were shooting our planes, the bombers down at a fast rate. But I didn't know that, or I would have run the other way. To get a crew together, was in Tampa. If I remember the sequence, they sent us to Tampa, where they picked us up, you know, picked different people to be for a crew. Then they sent us to Georgia here somewhere. I don't know what the field was in Georgia. And picked up a plane. From there we flew up along the coast of US, and we stopped at Bangor, Maine. And we stayed overnight there, froze our behinds off, it was so cold. And then from there, a day later, we went to Newfoundland. And I remember how dark and rainy it was, because it was nighttime when we got there. It was terrible looking, you know. And we landed there, went to chow, and then the next morning we took off for England. And we landed, everybody went separate. It was not as a team effort. It was just every ship on their own. We landed in Scotland. They had just gotten paid. And we joined in. We lost all our money, you know, except Pfluger, the one that I mentioned once before. Pfluger was on a winning streak, so fantastic that when it was all done, the game was over and Simon says, I'm going. Everybody in the crew was holding pound notes like this. That's how he started his European invasion with. But this is really true. So, and I don't know what he did with it because we didn't ask. Only that it was a great plane, and we all knew it, because some of our planes came back, the tail either missing or half or this and that, or big pieces out. That plane always brought us back, and we all knew it. The name of our plane was, I always forget, so I wrote it down this morning so I wouldn't forget. The Blind Date. That was the name of our plane. That lasted for the 6 or 7 years that we were as a crew. After that it was different. There was 2 missions here, 3 missions here, you know, stuff like that. So, but they were all nice, even though I wasn't friends with anybody because I didn't know them. But it was fine. what I had to do, being the armorer and taking the pins out of the nose of the bombs. And I was really scared. I have to tell you, I was scared to death. I think that was probably about my first mission, second mission, whatever. We're going, and I have a pliers in my pocket because I have to take the cotter pins out of the nose of the bombs. They had a cotter pin, you know what they are. It's because if I didn't have them out when the bomb hit the nose. So I remember looking down. I was scared to death, and I was saying to my, after I did all of this, I called up the lieutenant, the bombardier. I said, Lieutenant, I said, what's going to happen if when I pull those pins out, the bomb goes off? He said, Sergeant, you'll never feel a thing. So we went into the radio room, and we always had a box of chaff there that once in a while, for whatever reason, they used to empty it and throw it out at the radio room. They had a hatch. Throw it out of the radio room, and it used to make the radar, the German radar, the ack guns, it used to. So he did his thing in the box, in this big box, put it on the walkway of the bomb bay. We went for our mission. We went in on our way. Bomb bay doors opened up. The box came out, hit the belly turret, splattered it with whatever was in there. And then, I'm glad she reminded me, because I got a call from Kaminsky. He says, Billy, get me out of here, get me out of here. I'm full of blood, I'm bleeding, I can't see. So I said, okay, I unhooked my suit and everything. I got there, got him out, looked him over, nothing was wrong. I said, Kaminsky, nothing's wrong. I got him back in there. Afterwards, we found out what Henderson did. I already had a cleanup job to do when we got down. But that really happened. On one of the missions, we were heading for takeoff, and I looked out. First of all, I told you that I had looked up and the sky was just loaded with 17s and 24s, and I looked back into the plane and see the line up in back of me of all these planes slowly moving up for takeoff, and how I felt, that feeling of awe that I had and love for our country with this at this time. I am still that way. I still think of our country that way. I love the country. Always did and always will. It was an amazing sight to see all the planes, B-17s and B-24s, that were flying. The sky was packed with planes to go on this mission. Very awe-inspiring. You have to fly around little by little and everybody taking their own space and be very careful that not into another group. Yeah. And then on their way, I was, since I was waist, and we didn't have anything, it was open. There was no plexiglass. So I just stand there. You have to stand. I was lucky, I had flat feet. I was the only one that stood in the ship. I just passed the time away thinking of what I had to do. I have to admit that I wasn't scared. I don't think anybody really was until we were actually into it. What it was when we were actually on the bomb run with the bombs coming up and the big puffs of smoke out there and everything. It's scary, but everybody did their job. We had a great crew. Got hit with a piece of flak, put me down. I was hanging out of the machine gun. I was on my knee, and we got through the mission. You know, when we came down, I told my tail gunner, Len Pfluger, I said, Len, Don't let them put me in the ambulance because they'll take me away to the hospital and I won't be able to. Maybe they'll stop me from flying because I want to keep flying. So he took me to the infirmary, taped me up, and brought me back. And that started my problems as to the VA taking care of me, because they wouldn't, because they didn't have a record of me, because at the infirmary they didn't do anything but take me and send me on my way. I was always sore in my sternum after that for years, always. I couldn't lift. I never knew what the reason was, that I always had a pain when I used to lift. But that was the reason, because I got hit up there. And I think that was either my 6th or 7th mission. When we got down, I said to Fluger, my tail gunner, he picked up, I have a piece of flak like this, I'll say about 2 inches long, that hit me and knocked me down. I was the youngest on the crew. I was 18 by the time I was probably 19 by the time I was in combat. I flew 15 missions, okay, with the crew. But I got to about the 7th mission. They left us alone to drink a little and have a good times and so forth and so on. And we were making a lot of noise, upsetting a lot of crews, you know, making noise because we didn't have anything to do for a while the officers were busy doing what they were doing. In fact, Kennedy's brother died, was killed on one of those missions that my officers went on. They had what they call a mother and a baby. They took B-17s, stripped them, put dynamite in the baby, and with a unit where the mother could take them off. And in fact, my co-pilot, when he bailed out, he hit the tail of the plane, and he was lucky he made it down alive, but he had a scar on his face for the rest of his life because of that. They sent me because I told the sergeant when he came in, we were making noise, I told him, "Sarge, bring the mail with you the next time." He sent me out to where the mechanics do the work. After a month or so of that, I got a call. "We're training you we want you to become a bombardier." So I said, okay, whatever. And they didn't really train me as a bombardier, but they showed me how to push all the toggle ships, toggles, to open the doors, to drop the bombs, everything, you know. And not too long of training, and I became a Togglier. Yeah, I was a Togglier because I toggle switch. When we were flying, most of the planes, maybe there was one with the bomb sight. After that, everybody dropped when they dropped. When I flew, at this point, they didn't know what to do with me. And every time, let's say, somebody was killed in a ship, or whatever happened to them, they sent me in I did a replacement for, well, probably for about 6, 7, 8 missions, whatever. And I know that, and I remember, I did many times, I was a guy that dropped the bombs because they didn't always have somebody that knew how to do this. So my last 2 missions were over Berlin. I know going there and coming back, we were called stragglers. Our plane couldn't keep up with the rest of the bombers for whatever reason. My last 2 missions was that way. So on that first time it happened, about 6 or 7 other 17s and came up in back of us, and we led the way into Berlin. And I watched where they had a flare up there. When they dropped, they had a flare up. When I thought we reached the flare, that's when I dropped. And after briefing, they told me that we did hit the target. And then right after that, I don't remember exactly when, but we went to Berlin again, the second time. This time, straggler again. And we made it. And on the way back, two other planes came up on to us, with me being the lead, and then another one to the side. And just as the third one came in, and you know, you don't fly like this, you know, you fly here, there. That's how it looks different, but you're at different levels when you're flying. And the third one went under, got hit with a bomb, exploded under us, and our pilot had to fight the plane, I remember, fight the plane to right it so that we could go on. And then we came back. Well, I always told God to take, God, please, don't let me get killed. Many times I said that. God, please don't let me get killed. I'll be a good person all my life, you know, and things like that. And many times on a mission, when I thought about it, God was always in my mind that He helped us. When we got done with the mission many times, I said to myself, God was there. He was always there for me, always. And I always wrote it the same way, because I actually feel that way. I'm not religious, but I know there's a God above us. And I've always been a good person, before that and then. And He always took care of me, always. Was never on a mission that the big black puffs were all coming up and all of us. Many times we had to go through it. Instead of going around the flak area, this was on a line with a trajectory of the trip we were taking straight in to the target. So I don't know if I prayed or not, but I knew we were going. And I'm sure everybody else did. Whatever I thought, everybody thought the same way, believe me. Like you said before, there's no atheists in the foxhole. Yep. I know, after the war, I had a cousin that was in infantry. He went through with Patton, from start to finish with Patton, and went through all kinds of things, and had loads of stories and this and that. And I said to him, you know, we were talking, this was after the war, and he said to me, you know, we always used to look up there and see what was going on with you guys and saying, you poor bastards up there, you have no place to run. And I would say to him, we would look down there and we were saying the same thing about you. After my missions, they didn't know what to do with us. They didn't know what to do with us. They sent me to Laredo, Texas. They said, you're going to teach gunnery. They taught me about skeet. I was good for 25 out of 25. I was really good at it. And when that was, it wasn't quite over, when the news came out that they were going to send us, first they said, after this, at a certain time, they were going to send us home. It was time to go home. And then all of a sudden, they said, no, we need it. 29s are going to Japan. We have the war in Japan to take care of. So you people, all of you are going to go to Japan on this. It took probably about 2 days or so, and Truman dropped the bomb. That's when he dropped the bomb, and everybody said, thank God, we won't go in there. Now they're going to send me back home. They send me back home. I had enough points. You know, they went by how many points you have overseas, certain amount of points, how many missions you flew, et cetera, until I had a lot of missions, a lot of points. So they sent me home on a troop ship. If I remember, Kaiser was building those troop ships. Sent me home on one of them. We were on our way over when they got news that a sub was following us, even if the war was over. Now the war was over, and there's this sub out there watching us. But I used to go up on top. The first thing we did anyway, when we got in the ship, everybody would shoot craps to see how much money they could lose. Me being one of them. And then I would go up on the deck. Every day I went up on deck and watched those tremendous waves that looked like they would consume us. Got home, Newport News, Virginia. First thing I did, go into a telephone, Mom, I'm home. Go out of the booth, my flight bag is gone. Somebody had a better shot at it than I did. So it wasn't until later I got to Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn and got a set of clothes to wear. But I remember, didn't forget that one. They were all waiting for me. I got home and everybody was there. It was packed with people. I lived in Seagate, Brooklyn, New York. A small 1 square mile, big mansions and stuff that we would buy one here and one there and turn them into rooming houses. That's how we made a living. I could have gone to 3 different colleges when I got out. I had enough, when I got out of school, I had enough. I could go anywhere I wanted. In the time that I was overseas, I was always gambling. When I wasn't flying, I was at the latrine, cards or dice, and I was lucky, and I sent home. Every time I'd win that day, I'd go into the post office and send the money home to my mother, because I know that she was, at least once a month, she would send a big carton loaded with food and delicacies and everything, and everybody in the crew enjoyed. She said to me, Billy, Dave wants to go into a business. He found a business he would like to go into, but he needs a partner. I says, Mom, I don't have any money. She says, yes, you do. I said, where did I get it? She says, I saved the money. She had $750 for me. Do you know what that $750 was worth in 1945? I got out in 1945. And that was my half a down payment in the business. What I did was an important part of tomorrow for the youthful youngsters that were coming up, that they had to see where they came from. I think it was a very important thing to do, because the truth is, when you talk to the young people today, they probably don't even know there's a World War II. They just don't know anything what went on before. I don't know why, because they don't teach them. There's no history in school anymore. The background, it's important that they know where they come from. Not only what they came from overseas, because I can tell you right now, I know where I came from, where my people came from. Believe it or not, Siberia. I wanted you to see what the B-17 looked like, but I did want you to walk in it and walk in my shoes. Wanted you to walk in my shoes to see what I put in 8 and 10 hour, 11 hours a mission. We got the best country in the whole world. It's the most wonderful, wonderful place that people overseas, people in other countries, they don't even know. They only hear what they think, but they don't know what this is. They don't know because they never had this. All they had were dictators with their hand over their heads to make them do things that they shouldn't be doing, starving them, killing them, and all these kinds of things. We don't have that here. What I did, if that's part of what they're going to get in history lessons, I'm very happy with it. I won't go there like this, but I got about 5 or 6 years to go yet. I'm going to be 100, and I'm going to make it. My mother made 100. And when I was in my 50s, she said, Billy, you're going to live longer than I will. So I tell everybody, be good to me, and I'm going to drag you along with me on my way to 100. See? Well, I'm going to make 100, and I'm going to look back at these kids and other things with the help of God. It's there for me to see. And hopefully, this place is still here, doing as great as actually it is doing. It is doing great, but better and better. So, war is, like they say, is hell. And the people in it, there's always take something away, either a part of them taken away or other things that are not particularly desirable that's left with them. You know, they have troubles. Overall, I've handled it pretty good. And if I didn't, those kids would not let me live. They were good kids. They all had a good education. Gave them a good education. They all know right from wrong, and they do. And they made a happy time for me in my life.